It's not even a year since I started making my personal art practice more regular, deep, and meaningful, treating it not as a way to showcase my skills, on whatever level they might be, but to explore who and what I am, using it for self-knowledge and also for mental and emotional support. Inspiration and that very special impulse to create can emerge at any moment. And as life happens, we often lose that momentum, do not respond to it right away, and then it withers. At some point, I decided that whenever I go out for a walk or run some errands, I should take a small yet satisfying set of art journaling stuff with me to catch the fleeting moments on the go. In today's video, I'll show you what I carry with me as an art journaler living in Eastern Europe, in Serbia, how I keep a simple and minimalist approach that doesn't kill the creative impulse, and what insights I got since I permitted myself to create whenever and wherever. There are timestamps in the video down there, so you can navigate it the way you want it. If you're new here, welcome, I'm Anna, and I started this channel to share art journaling tips and inspirations, and also how I build my personal art practice for self-exploration. So, we will begin with bags, and I usually carry two bags with me, a smaller purse and a bigger tote. And we'll begin with the big tote because it has most part of my creative art journaling supplies. And yes, I will show you everything that I carry for art and for living a life as well, because those are not separate for me anyways. And I hope that you don't mind that we'll have both artsy and mundane things. The tote is nothing special, not fancy, from a fast fashion brand. I bought it out of unpredicted necessity this spring, and it has become a surprisingly handy and versatile bag that I use for everything, including grocery shopping. It doesn't have a zipper, there is only one huge compartment inside. And not to have everything scattered in there, I have this, a cotton drawstring pouch that has been with me for 5 years or so. This pouch came with a shirt that I bought more than 5 years ago from a tiny clothing brand in St. Petersburg. The brand no longer exists, the shirt is with its new owner, but I still have this. And here I carry some stuff, and I have two sketchbooks, not even one. And the first one is a small. It's by Moleskine, and it's from its art series. I will show you art collection. I really like the quality of the sketchbook. It's more on a pricier side, at least for me, but I'm so happy with it. And at the moment, this sketchbook is a playground for my concept of tiny creative actions. So I'm using a one-and-one concept that I've described in the previous video on this channel. So if you haven't watched it, you can go and use the link that will be somewhere up there. So far I'm enjoying this concept and this art process, and I intend to finish this sketchbook by the end of the year and see how the idea unfolds and what insights I will get about it. It's a very exciting process. And the second sketchbook that I carry in here is a bigger one. I'll show you. And it's Art Creations by Talents. I used it for my art journaling challenge. There is a whole video on this channel, which is quite long. I think it's the longest video that I've ever made. And I talk about every sketch, nature journaling sketch that I created. So again, you can go and watch it. And right now, I continue it with my urban sketching experience that I do in a fun, not realistic, experimental way. So probably in some next videos I will expand more on this idea. I'm just entering a very different art journaling scene and space for myself, and so far it's been a joy. I forgot to mention that I keep all the paper clips attached to the sketchbook, not to waste my time trying to find them. And at some point I would like to find a bigger type of paper clip that can be placed in the middle of the spread to keep the pages evenly open, but so far there has been no luck for me in local stores, so I'm just using these that work just fine. And there is another pouch in the drawstring pouch. This is where I keep my smaller art journaling supplies. I made this pouch myself about 4 years ago. The outer part is crocheted and the lining is hand sewn. It holds quite a lot of things inside. 2 tins from Altoids, I just love them for their versatility, and I have 3 more of them for my other art and craft thingies. 1 tin is for a mini watercolor palette. I just select whatever watercolor pans I want to use and place them here. It holds 8 full pans. At the moment I have autumnal and urban inspired selection. The other tin is for different scraps and tiny scissors. Initially these were my craft scissors, but then I discovered that they fit in this tin perfectly and are very handy to use on the go. And this selection of scraps is just random. Different pieces of labels, excerpts from vintage books, parts of my watercolor painted pages, printed photos, tea labels, just different scraps. I also renew the selection from time to time, as in my drawer I have a bigger tin with scraps and also a folder with different vintage book pages. I enjoy the randomness of this selection, this tin selection, because whenever I go out to journal outside to do my alternative urban sketching, some surprising and thought-provoking combinations of scraps happen, and I just love exploring the process. And besides, when I'm outside and I find some curious piece of nature that I would like to keep, such as an acorn or a leaf or something else, I can safely put it in here without being afraid that it will be lost or damaged in my bag. And here are the rest of my supplies in the pouch. Glue stick, regular black pens with archival ink. It's an alternative to Sakura pens. It has 0.1, 0.2 and 0.3 sizes, and I use them both for drawing and writing. Incorporating text into my art journal entries is something that I enjoy so much. It's like journaling, but in a more creative and relaxed and, dare I say, poetic way. I take 2 water brushes with me of 2 different sizes, and they always have water in them. Then I have 2 brush pens. Yeah, here they are. I don't use them that often, but for some random accents they are good to have. They are by Faber-Castell. And this one is of gray color, and this is of sanguine color. This is my favorite. I used to have a whole set of sanguine pens and brush pens by Faber-Castell. My husband Brian bought them for me on our trip to Lisbon, which was years ago, I think 7 years or so, and it seems like it was in the past life, or maybe not 7, I forgot. But from that set I have only 2 or 3 pens that are still alive, and that's why I also carry in this pouch just a regular tip pen of the same color. And also white gel pen by Sakura. I don't use it all the time, but sometimes it's very handy to have. As you've noticed, I don't use pencil and eraser. It's part of my personal art practice intention to let go of control and perfectionism and embrace the moment and the potential that it holds. If I don't like what I've drawn, I can always use collage as an overlay. In the main compartment of this big bag, I also have a pouch with grocery net bags. Here it has my old design that is barely there, as I used a low-quality thermal printing thing. Another tote bag for possible groceries or anything else I might need to carry. A pouch with toilet and hygiene stuff that can be needed. It's always good to have this just in case. And wired headphones. These are quite old and beaten by time, but still working, and I prefer to use them outside. The sound is loud enough, but I can still hear the surrounding, which is important for safety. And there is one more thing that I put in here on some days, not on every day, because it's quite heavy. It's a foldable chair for camping. I bought it not that long time ago and find it very useful and handy to have, not to depend on benches and avoid sitting on cold surfaces. This is everything for the big bag, and now moving on to its smaller sister. This purse is by Uniqlo. I've been owning it for about 4 years and I'm using it all the time. It's compact yet very spacious. Here I have another small sketchbook that I use two ways. First, for my tiny creative actions, to sketch different things that I see, and again I talk about it more in my previous video on this channel. And also from the other end, I write down different phrases in Serbian that I might need outside in regular life. For example, if I go to the pharmacy, I need to know how to ask for a certain medication. Here, of course, a lot of people, most people speak English on different levels, but still the communication is possible. But I still make an effort to try to speak local language because I think it's respectful. And besides, the Serbian language sounds a lot like Russian, so I have some intuitive understanding, but of course they are completely different languages and it's just interesting for me to learn it. And I'm using this small notebook for this. And to pair this notebook with my writing little things, I carry a simple ball pen, so nothing special. This is by Big. Yeah. Dry tissues, those are handy to have for regular life, for different occasions, and also for art practice, for example, for cleaning the water brushes or for removing some excessive amounts of glue or anything else. So it's always with me here. Sanitizer, I have this little refillable beer bottle that I love. Sunglasses, very basic. I use them all year round as my eyes get too sensitive, and oftentimes I wear these even when there is no sun, but to protect my eyes from the wind. The case is an elementary crochet sleeve handmade by me. Wallet, from some fast fashion brand. I'm not super picky in choosing things like this. I just wanted something sturdy and compact. So this has been with me for about 3 years or 2, I don't even remember. My phone. I have a very old, shaggy phone and a very shaggy phone case. I have just one. I don't change anything. I don't know, I'm just not crazy about phones, and for my photos and videos that I have to make for a living, and that is they're also my one of my creative passions. I have 2 cameras, separate ones, but phone is just a phone for me. I bought it 5 years ago, about that, and it was already refurbished, but it's still working and I'm very grateful for it. And I don't know, I've never viewed having a phone as some symbol of prestige or something that I crave for. It's not important for me, but it's just my personal opinion, and all people are different, of course. These days in the small purse I always carry a broken watch. This used to belong to my grandmother, and I wore it for a certain period of time, but then it broke. So I'm just carrying it with me as a reminder to find a good specialist who can fix it so that I can use it again. And I also need to replace the wristband that is falling apart. Yeah, but this is a very cool design. It's a vintage Soviet watch that I adore and I want to keep, and at least I'm keeping it with me in the bag. Pills, it's a must for me. Unfortunately, I've lost my pill box and now I carry these in a little pocket. Keys from whatever apartment I call home at the moment. Chapstick, now it's by Burt's Bees. Soon it will come to an end and I will get something else. Again, I'm not super picky about what chapstick to use. The only requirement for me is that it should be as natural as it can be without any mineral oil. But that's it. This is it for the content of my bags. You've seen everything that I carry with me to make art and also live a life. And now I will share with you some important insights that I got since I've given myself the permission to create outside the predetermined places and schedules. The first insight is that carrying my art journaling supplies with me has provided me a surprising emotional support. The thing is that I have very serious social anxiety, which can be very hard to read if you communicate with me in person. I can even seem extroverted, but in reality, inside, I'm deeply, painfully introverted, and I'm a very socially anxious person. So last week, when I had my first social artsy gathering in a new city, I almost fainted on the way there, and I constantly felt dizzy and nauseous, but I still went because I needed it. I need to have new acquaintances and possibly friends in real life. It is very important for me. And that's where my sketchbooks and the pouch with supplies become my safe space, my movable sanctuary that makes me feel not so overwhelmed with the world and a tiny little bit braver to deal with it. The second insight is that this experience has given me more spontaneous freedom. I don't have to gather myself together before doing an art journaling session, which often happens when I create from the comfort of the apartment. So when I'm outside, I realize that I cannot sit on the bench or on my folding stool forever, that my time is limited and I cannot waste it for being fearful or for procrastinating. So I just take an action and create without any expectations, but with a lot of curiosity and attention. And the third insight is that it holds me more accountable. When you feel the physical weight of your art journaling carry, it becomes hard to ignore the sudden whispers of inspiration. And yes, there is a good deal of sort of psychological pressure, but this pressure is actually good. Personal art practice is not always a 100% joy and fun. It can be challenging, especially when you deal with uneasy life situations that your mind has to process through art. Catching the right moments to address them is very important, and for that, it's very handy to have these. Please feel free to share in the comments whether you carry any artsy art journaling thingies with you, and if yes, then which, and if no, whether you got inspired to give this practice a try. Let's share and connect. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, dear fellow creatives. I'm wishing you a great day to spend creating or contemplating, whatever you decide to choose for now. And I will see you in the next video. Пока-пока.